All right, welcome. Hey, it's the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I'm Jeremy, your host for this exciting half hour of news. We've got some good information coming to you. I'm coming to you from allpointstv.com. You can check us out on Comcast, Channel 17, Public Television, Tuesdays from 8:30 to 9:30. Did I get that right, John?
Yes, you did. You got it right.
Awesome. John is the man behind the cam, if you're wondering where the crazy voice comes from. John makes it happen here at allpointstv.com. I want to say thank you to him for being here and making this place happen. If you want great news, great information, real news, and news that's not been jaded by advertising or other types of influential things, you can get it right here at allpointstv.com. So check this place out online on YouTube, and you can get all your news and information right from here from people who care. All right, this show here, we're talking about medical marijuana. That's what we do on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I'm also going to let you know what's happening down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. It is April. We're moving right into spring, although you might be confused if you're outside and somehow feel like you slipped into November. But at any rate, it is spring, and with spring, we always have our excellent and exciting 420 party. Now, people keep asking me, when is the 420 party? It is April 20th, all right? It is 420, all right? It's all day long. It's happening at the G3C. This is our anniversary, and it's our celebration of freedom for medical marijuana patients. If you're a patient, if you're a member, get down to the club on April 20th. It's going to be a fantastic time. We're going to have celebrity guest for our twist-off contest that we hold every year. We're going to be having our bud contest. We're going to have concentrate contest. So you make sure you get your entries entered in beforehand if you want to compete. And they will be judged, like I said, by celebrity guest judge. We have Darren McCarty, formerly of the Red Wings. We also have 710 Savant, former High Times Cup winner. And we're also going to have, I know I'm forgetting somebody else, somebody important. Oh yeah, Ghetto E from the Dayton family. So that's going to be pretty spectacular. We're going to also have a couple of our members and staff be judges as well. You know, nobody's got more experience than the G3C staff at checking out your concentrates and flowers. So, but at any rate, yeah, it's going to be awesome, and you guys have an opportunity to enter in and win. And, like we're going to say, we have the twist-off contest as well. So if you're not a caregiver and you're not out there growing and producing your own medicine, you can still have an opportunity to show off your skills. We have, of course, the fastest and the best overall twist and so on. If you haven't been there before, it's definitely a good time to check out the club. And, we give out awards and prizes, and it's just a grand, good old time. On top of the events, we also have some awesome food coming in. We've got our hot dog man from Davison coming back. Everybody loves the hot dogs, so the food's going to be part of the deal. And in addition to the hot dogs, you guys are going to get a killer meal from Backyard Barbecue. It is absolutely insane. Best barbecue in the county, I think. And I've eaten at a lot of different barbecue places in Genesee County. I love barbecue, and Backyard Barbecue is some of the best. I mean, it's outstanding. So your tickets, you can get them right now for the 420 event. I believe they're $20. You can get them at the G3C. Get them at the day of the event, but don't wait if you can. You get your bracelet, get your meal ticket, and get yourself on your way to a good time. So it's going to be at 420. We're also going to have special guest speakers. We're going to have a little vote now information so we can start to get informed about our local candidates. We have, obviously, this is an election year, and we're not just electing a president this year. You're also going to be electing your local township officials, along with a whole lot of other important things that are going to come up in front of you on the ballot in November. And now is the time to start getting yourself educated. I know it might seem a little bit early, but it's never too early. So we're going to have some speakers there. Also at the 420 party, give you a chance to get informed and educated about your local political scene. So that's good stuff. But yeah, that is the 420 party. It's going to be spectacular. It always has been in the past. We expect no different this year, and I'd like to see you guys out there if you can. So tell your family, your friends, come on down and plan for 420. All right, other things that we got going on. April's a pretty busy month. It's, like I said, spring, even though it doesn't feel like it. And in spite of that, we're still going to get out there and do our good turn. We've been doing the Michigan's Adopt a Highway program now for, I think, almost 7 or 8 years. And we're continuing it this year. We'll be doing our first Adopt a Highway of 2016 on April 23rd. That is a Saturday. It's right after the 420 party. And we go out and we're going to clean up M13. And we've been cleaning this section of the highway, like I said, for about 7 or 8 years now. First cleanup of the year is always a doozy. We've got the winter time. A lot of folks, the plows are out. All those things create a lot of dirt and havoc in the ditch, and we're going to go out there and make it look nice. So if you could join us on April 23rd, like I said, it is a Saturday. We start out at usually about 9 o'clock at the club. We meet there, get together, we watch our safety videos, we get all of our equipment, our gloves, our pickers, our bags, and then we head out to M13 and we get that sucker cleaned. Usually it's done by about 1 or 2 o'clock. We come back, we have some food at the club, so it's a good event, it's good for you, you get to have some exercise and do a good turn while you're at it. So if you could remind yourselves, April 23rd, we need your help for the Adopt a Highway. Love to see you guys there. All right, other event that we've got going up, the day before the 23rd, which would be the 22nd, is Earth Day. All right, so Earth Day is a pretty special day, and that's kind of how we're celebrating, is by going out and help clean up the earth the next day. But we didn't want to miss out on Earth Day, so we're going to have a very special guest in the club on April 22nd, Mr. DJ Short. He is a world-renowned cannabis breeder, author, spokesman for cannabis. He's going to be in the G3C at 6 p.m., and he's going to be giving a very special, candid talk about marijuana breeding and growing and cultivation. And if you haven't got a chance to meet Mr. DJ Short, or if you've met him before, this is a great time to see him again, to get to know the man behind the legend, as he is really legendary. If you've been in cannabis cultivation for any amount of time, you probably have heard about DJ Short. He's got some very famous strains. One I'll mention right off the top, I think that everybody already knows or should know about it at least, is called Blueberry. And for those of you that haven't had the joy of experiencing the cannabis blueberry strain that Mr. DJ Short was responsible for breeding, you're really missing out, because it actually does smell and taste like blueberries. It's really phenomenal, and it's one of the classic strains now. I mean, when people talk about, quintessential cannabis strains of the past, we mentioned things like Maui Wowie and Panama Red. Blueberry's right in there with them. And if you've had a good blueberry, you won't forget it. So, this is the guy that made that strain. If you'd like to tap into his wealth of knowledge, make sure you mark down on your calendars April 22nd, 6 p.m. at the club. Be your time to meet with DJ Short, get to hear him talk, get to meet the man, and who knows, maybe he'll even have some of his seeds with him. I don't know. All right, and last event for April. Man, April is busy. We have our soup kitchen. We don't want to forget about that. It's the last Friday of the month. So make sure you guys sign up for that if you haven't already. You can sign up at the snack bar or just show up and help out at the North End Soup Kitchen. It's over off of Stewart Street right here in Flint. Been doing this for years, and we're just happy to be a part of it, really. So let's keep being a part of it. Need you guys' help. Help out, please, if you can. All right. That's about it for the events. I think that's enough for 1 month, if you ask me. We're already moving along right into April. I think today is the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. So, man, it's going to be over before you know it.
It's a 6th.
It's a 6th.
Yeah.
See?
It slips on by.
It does. It goes by too fast. You guys know that. And so mark your calendars down, all right? Because it's going to come up on you. All these things are going to come up on you so fast. You don't want to miss any of them, okay? All right, I got a couple things I did want to share with you today in regards to medical marijuana. It's always a constant state of flux here in the nation, and especially right here in Michigan. We've got a flurry of different cases that have been going on across the state. You've been hearing about the recent busts that have happened up in Oscoda, Osceola counties. We've also had some busts happen right here in Genesee County as well. I'm talking about busts in regards to different dispensaries or collectives that were operating. We've had different caregivers and patients around the state going through various court trials. Recently, I got to participate in a court trial for a patient down in Oakland County. So these things are going on constantly around the state, and it's really, a headache, if you will. I mean, the medical marijuana law was passed to provide protection for the people who participate in the program. And unfortunately, the program's been cut up from one side to the other on who and how you can participate, and who and how are they actually protected legally. So there's a lot of questions on this. It is not a pretty picture. And, I had one juror, just their comment said, I don't believe in a black and white world. And I thought, if you're in medical marijuana, you know what that's all about. And unfortunately, the lines of clarity are not clear, and there is a lot of confusion. So the most important thing I can tell you, folks, is that you maintain your limits, stay within your limits. And I'm also going to give you a few tips on today's program as to how you can also make sure that you're going to not just be within your limits, but ensure, let's just say, a superior level of compliance with Michigan's medical marijuana law, which is exactly where you want to be at. You want to be unreproachable. You want to be able to have, if law enforcement should come in and evaluate you and your growing operation or your medical marijuana supply, whatever it may be, you want to be sure that you are above reproach, that you are 100% within compliance. And I want to give you a couple tips that can help you do that. One of the big things in medical marijuana, in Michigan's medical marijuana law, is the protections that were written therein. Now, unfortunately, because of the way that some of these cases have been decided, there's some hoops that you have to jump through in order to actually receive the protection of the law. And I'm not just talking about going out and getting your medical marijuana card. Obviously, that's step one, besides going to a doctor. But there's more to it than just going to a doctor. One of the things that you have to have proof of in order to receive protection by this law. So let's say, for instance, you're going to court and you think, well, I was following the rules. I shouldn't be here in court. Well, you're there to prove that. And in order to be able to prove that, one of the things you're going to have is a bona fide doctor-patient relationship. So you say, well, what the heck is that? I don't know French. Well, bona fide just simply means in good faith. So it's really not that complicated. However, there are some very specific things that you can do to ensure that from a legal standpoint, you have this bona fide relationship. And one of those things is number one, making sure that when you go to visit your doctor in the first place, that you actually visit the doctor. You don't want to be doing this through some sort of a teleconference. You certainly don't want to be, doing things over by like email or, some type of fax or something like this. You want an in-person appointment, and that's going to be step one of ensuring that you have a real relationship with your doctor. Step two, obviously, is going to be making sure that they do a full evaluation. So if you go down, you sit in front of a doctor, and he goes, do you think you need medical marijuana? And you go, yes, and he says, okay, and signs your form. That's probably not the type of evaluation I'm referring to. They should be doing some normal things that you would see them do at any doctor's office, such as like maybe take your weight, check your blood pressure, look at what other types of current medications you may be on, medications that could be over the counter, under the counter, prescribed, whatever. They need to be doing a full background check on you to ensure that, whatever you're there for on that particular day, that they've got all the information that goes along with that. So one of the things that you can do is help them by providing some of your old past medical records. Now, this isn't mandatory at all places, but at some places it is mandatory. And by Michigan's law, it's one of those things that's going to certainly help ensure that you can say without a doubt you have a bona fide doctor-patient relationship. So keeping copies of all your old medical records together and taking them with you when you go to see your medical marijuana doctor is real important. And I'd recommend that you do that. So there'd be step one, step two. The next thing obviously is filling out the form that comes from the state, making sure the doctor fills it out correctly, and then you send it in. So there's the first step. And by doing that right there, that would get you qualified to become a Michigan patient through the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program. So once the state gets the application from the doctor and you, gets their money, make sure that the doctor's real, make sure that you filled it out correctly, make sure you don't have any other reason why it prevents you from getting that card, then they send the card out. Now, you would think that that would be good enough to ensure that you've got what you need in order to be protected by this law. And I'm here to tell you, folks, that that's not all you need. One of the things you have to be able to do in court, like I said, is prove this bona fide doctor-patient relationship. And one of the things you're going to have beyond all of the stuff that I just mentioned is a follow-up appointment. And I know that this seems minuscule. It seems like it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It doesn't seem like if I don't have a follow-up appointment, then it would negate all of these other steps that you've completed to become a Michigan medical marijuana patient. But unfortunately, in court, it could very well do just that. And if you don't have a bona fide patient relationship, even if you have a medical marijuana card, you might find yourself lacking the protection that would be provided to you inside of the law. So I would encourage you, I call it step 3 or step 4 or whatever you want to call it, but one of the important steps to ensuring your protection under this law is in fact that follow-up appointment to ensure that you have that bona fide doctor-patient relationship. And you may say, well, how many follow-ups do I need? Well, you only really need one. Would more be helpful? Well, sure, and I'm sure your doctor would like to see you more often. However, you at least need to have that one follow-up appointment. And it's a good idea to have that performed, anywhere from 3 months after your initial recommendation up to maybe a year after your initial recommendation. We know now that the Michigan medical marijuana registrations are good for 2 years through the state. So, you don't want to wait to the end of your second year to have a follow-up. A renewal for your card is not considered a follow-up. So make sure you understand that clearly. You want to make sure you have a follow-up appointment. And I know a lot of clinics are automatically offering this. Some do so at a discount if you set up your follow-up appointment right when you had your initial contact with the doctor. Whatever that method is for that physician, that's what you want to do. And you want to make sure that you do have that bona fide doctor-patient relationship. And then, again, bona fide means in good faith. So it's nothing real fancy. It's not real complicated, but it's real important. So if you want to get protection in court, you want to make sure you've got a follow-up appointment with your doctor. Next thing is that you've got to make sure that you and your patient, if you're a caregiver or if you're a patient just by yourself, that the amount of cannabis that you have is a reasonable amount. Now, I know that seems ridiculous. The law says you could have up to 2.5 ounces if you're a patient. If you're a caregiver, you could have 2.5 ounces per patient. But when we get back to talking about what is a reasonable amount, reasonable could be considered something less than 2.5, and it could be considered something more than 2.5. Vice versa, it could be considered too much. So let's say, for example, you have less than 2.5 ounces. Law enforcement might say that you still have too much. So you need to take a look at how much is the patient using, or you yourself as a patient, how much are you using? What is the frequency of that use? And so you can sort of estimate how much you need to have of your medication on hand. And don't just think that the 2.5 ounces is an automatic protection, because it isn't. And it's now no more an automatic protection for somebody who has more or for somebody who has less. You have to be able to ensure that the amount that you have in possession is reasonable for the use that patient needs, or for you as a patient you need. So it could work both ways, and it's definitely something that has to be considered. So the important thing is that you know what you need, and that you're ensuring that you have an uninterrupted supply of your medication, but also to ensure that you don't have too much of your medication as well. Those are some of the things that I've picked up from some of the court cases that have been going around, some of the things that are vital to providing the protections that are given in this law. And again, I know it seems like they're simple things, but they're actually very, very important. I want to give you a couple cases here that were in the news recently. And the first one I want to talk about is actually a former Michigan lawmaker who just received 45 days in jail because he was a caregiver. Apparently he was growing too much, is how the story goes. So again, here's something that he wasn't taking a very careful look at what was reasonable to maintain a supply for his patients. Apparently he had more than that was reasonable. It says here that police seized 3 pounds of marijuana and 71 plants. So by the section 4 of the law, which says that you could have 2.5 ounces per patient, I don't know how many patients this gentleman had, but 3 pounds would be more than the maximum allowed by state. Also, with plants and patients, if he had 5 patients, he could legally have up to 72 plants. So there's a potential that he was within his limit when it came to number of plants, but when it came to the amount of medication he had on hand, apparently it seemed that he had too much. So here's a perfect example of making sure that you're maintaining an uninterrupted supply for your patients, but at the same time maintaining a reasonable amount to stay within your state law's guidelines. So, and if a former state representative can be, prosecuted and taken through the process on this, anybody can. So you need to make sure that you're within your limits no matter what. All right. Another story here I wanted to share with you. This is different. Oh, man. Oh, no. Sorry. Computer problems. Let's see here. All right, another case here I want to discuss, and I'm going to back out from Michigan for just a second, but I want to bring to your attention Oregon. Oregon's had a medical marijuana law for quite some time now. They also passed recreational marijuana, but there's some similarities between what's going on in Oregon and what's happening to be proposed here in Michigan. And I want you to take a look at this. You can pull this up for yourself. Look at Oregon's marijuana market. Right now, the state is proposing a new system for the recreational purposes, and they were proposing it through their Liquor Control Board, which is the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. And looks like they're issuing out two different types of licenses, a 3-tiered type distribution system modeled much like alcohol, and looks like they'll have different fees for different size growers, and also different fees for processors and retailers and wholesalers. So first, one of the licensees is $3,750 for a small grower. Next one is $5,750 for a little bit larger grower. Retailers, their fee is $4,750 for an annual state license. So apparently, Oregon is mimicking a lot of things we've seen here in Michigan, which is that lawmakers seem to be willing to put up with future proliferation of marijuana, but only for a fee. They want to get paid. They want the state to get paid. So they feel that somehow it'd be okay as long as you pay for it. Well, that's up to you to decide, I guess. But I think it's kind of interesting if we look at Oregon right now, what's being proposed out there, and then look at some of the bills that have been proposed here in Michigan. They mimic each other. And I don't know if this is done by through efforts of lobbying, having the same type of controlling corporate interests getting involved in the legislative game here. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but I think it's ironic that we have a very similar type proposal here in Michigan as to what's being supposedly done out in Oregon. I would caution against these types of models. I don't think they're appropriate. I don't believe that alcohol is the same type of product as cannabis, and I don't think they should be controlled or regulated in the same fashion. They both need their own means of regulation. However, I think there are two different types of products, certainly two different types of consumers, and certainly two different types of production methods. So I think it'd be appropriate to have a separate board, something like maybe what Colorado came up with, but I do not believe that having your liquor boards or your liquor commissions be in charge of this is the answer. They have their own hands full already. So I just caution you. I know that the bills here in Michigan supposedly are going to get drummed back up again after the Easter break is over, which is coming up here next week. So our state legislators here in Michigan will be getting back to work here very shortly, and there was already a promise from one of our senators, Rick Jones, who said he would be bringing back his bills, which died last year in the Senate, but he's going to be bringing them back after the break and trying to get them back through our state legislature again. And these bills are exactly what I just talked about. It's a 3-tiered alcohol type system that's controlled by the Liquor Commission, and it's just totally wrong for our state. Number one, we don't have recreational marijuana here in Michigan. We have a medical marijuana program that serves a very small percentage of the population overall. So to have a distribution system set up like a 3-tiered monopoly, such as like the liquor control, it's just overbearing for the state, and it's overbearing for the consumers. All these additional licenses and fees and so on are really just going to get passed on down to patients. And we have to remember that we are dealing here with patients. People are using this for medicinal purposes, and oftentimes, in many cases, these are people who do not have a whole lot of extra money to be spending on things like states' fees and taxes and so on. They're already paying their fair share. So keep an eye out on this, folks. It's something that should be coming around, and it's obviously a controlled, concentrated effort by folks who have the means to do so. There's no coincidence that what is going on in Oregon is also trying to occur here in Michigan. It's no coincidence. All right, one more story I want to share with you folks here today. This is also right here in Michigan, and it's dealing with the ballot proposal for MI legalized. We've talked about this on the program before extensively. Right now, as I'm sure you're aware, there are petitioners trying to gather enough signatures to get a recreational legalized form of marijuana on the ballot this year for voters to decide on. Now, currently, it seems like their group that is collecting these signatures has been having difficulties for some time in trying to get the total number of signatures needed. However, the process of verifying those signatures is a lengthy one, and one that should be updated to reflect things like modern technology. And as I've discussed on this program before, our senators and our legislators at the state level are busy trying to thwart the efforts to use these modern technologies for the purpose of signature ballot collections, gathering, verifications, and so on. So, I'm not really concerned as much about the particular issue that's being related to in this article, which is marijuana legalization. That's not the only petition that is being circulated right now. And I know that a lot of folks are in arms about this. They're excited about it. They're passionate and motivated about getting marijuana to be legalized for adult use. In fact, there's 2 or 3 different petitions right now where they're trying to gather signatures to get this on the ballot. It's a hot topic. I get that. But it is not the only one out there right now that is involving trying to get things on our ballot that our legislature currently isn't dealing with. Specifically, I could reference fracking. There's a petition right now in Michigan to ban future fracking. And if it gets enough signatures, it'd get on the ballot and you could vote on that. I think that process is essential to America's democracy, to having our country and our government work in the form that it should. Citizens need to be able to redress their government when their government isn't taking care of the issues that they feel are important to them. And to minimize that process, to make that process more difficult, to have that process not take advantage of modern day technologies, it's anti-democratic. It's simply very put. It is nothing more than an attempt to squash the vote or the voice of the people. And there's no other purpose behind that type of an initiative. So the bills that have been proposed by our legislature to kill off the ability of our ballot board's job to verify these signatures, I think it's kind of gross. And it has nothing to do with am I legalized or any other ballot proposal that has to do with legalizing marijuana. This has to deal with democracy, period. So I think this is something that I would hope more people would pay attention to. There's an article in the Detroit Free Press today that you can look at this up, check this out. And it's unfortunate because it seems that our legislators are more concerned right now with squashing the efforts of any type of ballot proposal than they are with actually dealing with the issues themselves, which is what they're there to deal with. So, but I wanted to bring that to your attention because I think it's important. This bill has not yet gone through. Like I said, our legislators will be getting back from their Easter break here just this next week, and they're going to be tackling issues like this and like the other bills that I mentioned on the program today. The only way that we can get them to listen to us is by talking to them. All right? If you don't call them, if you don't tell them how you feel, they obviously can't listen. So I would encourage you to take a few minutes this spring, maybe next week, call up your local state legislature, your representative, your senator, introduce yourself, let them know that you're a voting constituent in their area, and tell them how you feel. Tell them how you feel about, not just marijuana, but tell them how you feel about some of the other issues, and let your voice be heard, because it seems that if you don't, the only voices they listen to are the ones that are paying them. And, I think they should be listening to citizens versus corporations. But that's just my 2 cents. All right. That's about it for the news that I have for you this week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to tell you, keep your hopes up, keep your spirits alive, and keep fighting. People need this as medication now more than ever. And I think that we're starting to see, more and more people come around to the idea that this is used as a medication. And I think that we can continue to propagate that through proof. So let's behave like we are supposed to. Let's be examples, and let's show people how this can be a beneficial thing to not only their personal health, but also to their community. All right? Thanks for joining me on the program this week. Make sure you check out all the other podcasts on allpointstv.com. You can check it out on their YouTube channel, or like I mentioned, on Channel 17, Public Television. Very excited and glad to be a part of that. And just want to say thanks to all of you viewers out there. So please join us down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Make sure you mark your calendars for the annual 420 party. It's going to be a big, wonderful celebration, and we definitely would like to see you guys there. And don't forget about our volunteer events as well. Thanks a lot for being a part of this. See you guys next week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. Take care.